Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Buenos días. Good morning. Thank you all for coming. It's a great pleasure to have you guys here. This is both the culmination of a long project of collaboration and hopefully the beginning of a much longer and more involved process of collaboration among 10 policy institutes and hopefully gathering more partners as we go along in the process. What we've done, we came together some months ago to try to work together to come up with ideas and tactics for states to be able to use starting in January to start reclaiming the Constitution, to start drawing once again a real meaningful separation between the authority of the states and the authority of the federal government. And reestablishing the balance of federalism that was so essential to the Constitution and to our framers. We've, in the documents outside and on your chairs if you were at the breakfast, we've come up with a couple of different things. One of them is the agenda for state action. That's the flyer that you have front and back. 8 of our organizations came together to sponsor this, and it's sort of both a set of recommendations and hopefully the foundation for, in each of these interstate compacts, constitutional amendments. Moving forward, we're going to be working to come up with proposals in each of these areas. Today's panel is specifically on interstate compacts, which we think is really a promising and powerful device in our Constitution. We've got a paper on it specifically that Ted Cruz and I wrote for the Texas Public Policy Foundation. It's sort of pretty legalistic and constitutional history and constitutional law and stuff, but it lays out, we think, the foundations of what folks need to know moving forward about interstate compacts to start coming up with ideas. There are 200 of them are in operation today. They cover relatively minor things, but you'll see that the devices that they use to draw boundaries between the federal government and what states are doing and what the regional authorities are doing under the compact provide a lot of promise and a lot of good ideas for how we can use interstate compacts in federalism. We've got a wonderful panel today. I just want to say a couple words briefly about each of the panelists and then let them take over. First, we're going to have Ted Cruz talking about interstate compacts generally. Ted is one of widely regarded, I think, in Texas, it's fair to say, as one of the hopeful new generation of rising leaders that's going to help bring our country back to what it was supposed to be and what it should be. Ted and I are both second-generation Cuban Americans. Like our fellow Cuban American, Senator-elect Marco Rubio likes to say, this is the greatest country in the world, but it's not going to stay that way if we keep going the way we're going. And so we've got to make the greatness of this country in each generation. We've got to remake it and fight for it, and that's something that Ted Cruz, I know, that's what motivates Ted's calling to public service. When you became Solicitor General, you were 33? 32. At the age of 32, became Solicitor General of the state of Texas, the youngest Solicitor General in the country, and went on to argue some 80 cases before the Supreme Court. He's going to talk about interstate compacts. We're happy to have him here. He'll also be giving the opening remarks at today's luncheon, and we look forward to that as well. Bob Moffitt of the Heritage Foundation is one of our country's leading healthcare experts. We've had at the Texas Public Policy Foundation the opportunity to talk with Bob over the past couple of months about what we can do to mitigate and escape the impact of Obamacare. And some of his ideas have struck me at least as so clever that it's almost like, people say, Dr. Moffitt is a Heritage Foundation, 2 blocks from the Senate office buildings, and you could consider him a Washington insider. But it makes me, but hearing some of his ideas on what states can do are so clever, and that it just reminded me more and more of a U.S. spy embedded within the KGB. That would be a KGB insider, but it's not good for the KGB to have insiders like that. So Dr. Moffitt's going to talk about what states can do to mitigate the impact of Obamacare and what changes in federal law would be required for an interstate compact to create real regulatory autonomy in healthcare. Finally, we've got Mark Meckler, the co-founder of the Tea Party Patriots, a great American who's really been the face that's brought us so many faces and so many voices and helped give voice to so many Americans who are really concerned, who have gone from concern to being really frightened about the direction that the country is going in. And he's, you know, as he likes to say and as he'll tell you, 2010 was also like the project that we've done at Texas Public Policy Foundation, not just a culmination of a great effort, but hopefully just the beginning of a great effort to change this country. Any successful project of interstate cooperation, such as an interstate compact, is going to require think tanks coming together to develop ideas and discussions with state legislators. It's going to require state legislators from different states working together. But the real motivation, you know, state legislators, as you well know, are driven by immediate political considerations that they have to worry about sort of today and tomorrow. And it's only a political movement like what the Tea Party Patriots represents that can create a situation where state legislators can look farther down the road and really implement more bold solutions that can get our country back to where it's supposed to be. So with that, thank you very much for joining, and I'll turn it over to Ted.
Thank you, Mario. Good morning. I apologize to all of you that we currently have stumbled into a gathering that begins with not one but two Cuban lawyers. So we're going to start with a cafecita, and after that we'll have some pork sandwiches and some black beans and rice. And by the end of it, we intend to pass out Havana cigars.
All right, here.
This is a panel discussion on interstate compacts, which is one of the many potent ideas to slay the beast. I mean, we are in a remarkable time, and we're seeing an awakening of citizens all across the country, legislators all across the nation, that are looking to tie down and limit this federal government. One of the most potent tools possible for doing that is interstate compacts. And I want to talk a little bit about, number one, the impetus behind this idea. And then number two, the two strategic insights that make this an absolutely critical tool for each of you in this room. The impetus is very simple. And it's an impetus that goes back to the time of our Constitution and the Federalist Papers. If you look at Federalist 10, if you look at Madison's insight on government, Madison and the framers understood that at the end of the day, we were not going to be able to count on the federal government to restrain itself. As he famously observed, if men were angels, no government would be necessary. But anyone who's spent about 12 seconds in the District of Columbia has probably figured out that there aren't a whole lot of angels here. You're not likely to see wings flapping in the sky anytime soon. And the great difficulty, the Federalist Papers explained, is to enable a government to govern the governed, and at the same time to oblige it to govern itself. Now, what was the insight and genius of the Constitution? It was to say, okay, we're not going to change human natures. We're not going to have angels suddenly ascend to Congress. What we're going to do instead is have others in government fight for power. The one thing we can count on is if enough of the governing forces are fighting each other, then maybe they won't unify against the people. And so the critical impetus behind interstate compacts, frankly, is to have each of you in this room fight against the federal government. And it's using that exact same impetus that if you have forces equally strong,
both